Alrighty, so it's time for a quick little garden update. It's June 29th, 2024. We are midsummer, about to hit July. It's getting kind of hot in Texas. Let me move away from the speaker. That is Hanya Ronnie playing, in case you wonder. So there's a bunch of things going on right now. So one, it's been 100 degrees almost every day lately. So today is nicely overcast. So I'm spending every minute in the garden that I can on my weekend hour. I normally wouldn't water like around the afternoon, but with it being overcast and the fact I forgot to water last night, that's what I'm working on. A bunch of discussion today is going to be about managing your garden in the summer, because right now I was digging up my potatoes, which I had a really poor potato harvest today. I'm kind of sad about it, but because you have to dig up all your area where you planted potatoes, and I was getting up like lots of chunks like this. Like this is just like a rock almost of clay soil. So it's been drying out, but the issue I think for me is the fact I planted this part of the garden right back here is right by the trees, and the trees have a root system that goes deep and really far, so it's drinking up all the water in this back section of the garden. So this section is always tough to grow things because I think the trees are invading. But you can see in the soil right now, our soil conditions are, it's cracking. I'm actually finding cracks in the garden, like, pretty well right now. That's one reason why I wanted to water it, because I thought I watered it last night, but I didn't. So, so today I've been picking weeds out of the garden. This section I hadn't got to yet. I'm trying to harvest everything that's worth harvesting right now also. But, like, so here's a nice little cucumber right here. Let me grab that guy. I'll have to go around to grab that other one. So one cucumber. Let's see what we got. I had some lemon cucumbers over here too. So this little guy is a lemon cucumber. I might have to come around from the other side to get it. This is one of the annoying weeds of the garden. Like, these guys grow about a little over a foot tall, then they drop seeds everywhere, and they come back every year. I get really annoyed with these guys. And they show up like around the hot months, so they don't harvest until then, but all the plants like those guys, I throw in my metal barrel and help break them down. But anyways, so just get those out when I see them. It looks like these guys knocked over this tomato cage, so I just got to walk over it. They're just hanging on for dear life, growing up. And so getting rained on a little bit doesn't bother me at all today at this temperature. So let's see, discussions about heat management. So I'm going to try to still add another shade cloth right here in between this pole and this pole. The way I did it last year was I was hanging shade cloths from strings from my trees and just spanned it over. This year I built a canopy structure. So it hasn't been too hot for these peppers. Peppers can usually hang, and this section of the garden actually gets pretty good shade with this tree. But out front in the open is where it gets the hottest. So peppers can handle it a lot better than tomatoes can. So my tomato section is basically all under covers right here. I'm using my shade cloths. I need to add some more bungee cords to this. Right now I still have to solve how I'm going to water it. So right now I have to undo this to water it so I don't blast the stream straight through here. That's still what I'm trying to figure out. I might have to move this out and elevate it, like right here. But otherwise I just elevate them a little bit for watering everything. This section, my marjoram is massive. Ollie is happy over there, coming to check out and see what's going on. I have a few more spots I can plant things, so I'm going to try to fill in stuff with, if I have more basil and other stuff, which I know I have a ton of, I will fill that up. I just picked all the peppers over here. I have some eggplants that looks about ready, so I could basically rip that guy up and harvest that. I'll do that maybe here in a minute because my hand's full with this cucumber I picked just a minute ago. All my tomato plants I was in the process of harvesting, so I have a whole bunch of tomatoes here. But so as far as trying to keep it like manage your garden through the summer, one, absolutely need mulch. Like this section is wood mulch. I don't have wood mulch in the back section because if it floods, it'll clog the fence line. This section is kind of just a pure raised square elevation where it's about 4 inches taller than the yard, and then when it does rain, water flows through the channels around the garden. So this is like always in process. Like I try not to till this every year. This is kind of the back to Eden style, but really what I probably should do is add another 2 inches of mulch to the height of this. That would definitely give it a lot more room to maintain moisture, because once it does get hot, I'll find cracks even underneath the mulch in here, and I'm pretty sure I saw a couple already. Tomatoes are looking pretty good. There's a few I've lost. I've only actually ripped up one plant so far, which was one of my Cherokee purples. The Cherokee purple that was in this one got ripped up. This Cherokee purple's hanging on, but I find them to be one of the plants that gets diseased the easiest. So have to watch them pretty well, but still got a bunch of cherry tomatoes to pick. Not way too many on your regular sized tomatoes. They start tapering off, and I need to pick all these yellow ones over here. There's a ton of those guys. I have some orange ones over there, which is usually my favorite variety, and I only have one of those plants right now that I know of growing in the garden. So I need to plant a couple more. There's a couple spots I had a couple more of the orange cherries available, so I'm going to try to fill those in. But yeah, it's nicely overcast still today, so it's not too hot. Otherwise, it's been brutal. Like, Texas heat is no joke. So I just try to manage it the best I can. But yeah, so shade cloths, metal pole structure canopy works great. I don't have to worry about anything on the shade cloths. I've ripped out some of the corners of them before. Like, I forgot, one of them had the corners ripped out. Yeah, you can see it kind of hanging over there. Because if you just pull it at tension with strings, it'll pull itself apart. But if you hang it from a structure like this, and this is using old fence poles. Since my neighbor put up a new fence, I'm taking out the metal fence. Otherwise, I'm gonna have vines and trees growing all the way down at like what you see right now. The longer you let it sit like that, the more those take over. So I had to pull up most of my sunflowers in the garden, but I'm not too worried about it. Those guys just kind of take over, and they are an addition to the garden, but I don't plant them. They just grow on their own. So I'll just have to be careful with those guys. But over here, I definitely have a whole bunch of melons that I haven't even seen yet, I'm thinking. And I need to see what I have in here. So there's definitely some in here, and I bet I can pick a couple things today, but we'll see how it goes here in a minute. Ollie's like, hey, this is nice, and where are all my bees? I need more bees out here. I'm surprised there's not more bees out in the flowers, but they do love this holy basil, which grows like a weed everywhere. So one of the things I do normally with these aisles also is I put down basically old leaf bags and then fill it with like my shredded mulch mixture I have over there. So I still didn't do that to every row, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm just start throwing down the shredded mulch everywhere over here, because this is still like pure soil, and pure soil will bake and end up with cracks. Like, you can kind of see them filling in, but there's like definitely a few cracks over there. But anyways, so more shade cloths is probably going to be needed. I'm going to set up my garden on a timer, most likely, so in the morning it'll just water, but I have to figure out where I'm going to set up my sprinkler system. And yeah, the cucumbers have grown up the vine really well this year. Melons are on this row, and like, I'm about to figure out how crazy those are. Let me see if I can see anything. Actually, I'm kind of curious, because just have to be careful in here. There's some tomatoes growing. There's a yellowing melon, probably. I'm not even sure which one's all I have in here, but I need to go down here. Probably better from the other way, because I don't want to accidentally step on my plants, because that's what happens down here when you have a lot of vines growing like that. It's hard to find a path without crushing them. But anyways, so that's kind of the current state of the garden. It's heating up still, so I'll try to maintain it the best I can. But yeah, I just need to anchor these across the corners pretty well to make sure that if I tie something to this thing, it doesn't pull out in this way, because all these are just slid into place with these corner brackets. So if you pull it apart, you could pull the poles out. So I'd have to be careful about tension pulling it apart. So I'm trying to figure out how I'll do that, but I think I have a pretty good idea of what I can do, because these things are solid. The metal poles in the middle are really heavy, like the ones that run in this direction. So those are like basically anchors holding it down into place anyway. So, but anyways, that's a quick little 10-minute overview of the garden. Compost pile. This is another good thing to note. I had some really good looking cantaloupe plants growing in my compost piles, and they were growing elevated, exposed soil just out of the compost. They burned to a crisp. This is what happens with elevated raised beds in Texas. It's good to keep in mind, because you're having to water things like this all the time. And it sucks that I'm like, all right, well, these guys are dead. And I just pick them up and be like, I'm done with them, because this is not recovering, and it's going to be hot during the summer. So it was nice for a minute, but they never actually grew any melons, because they just baked before they had a chance to. And it's too much water to try to water that part. I have plenty of them growing in my garden, and these were just compost seeds anyways. So it's just kind of like, hey, cool, let's see what grows out of the compost pile. That happens all the time. I try to utilize it when I can, but I probably should have transplanted them instead of leaving them here. But anyways, I need to rotate this anyways. So this was this full about a month ago maybe, and then these I was like ready to rotate, and then the plants started growing out of them, and I stopped. But now it's time to rotate everything. Compost just rotate stuff all the time. So otherwise, yeah, and I'm still always on the lookout for more of these crates. But one place was throwing them out if they ever got dented from a manufacturing facility. So I was like, hey, I'll grab a few of them, because they were gonna just get sent to the recycling bin. So, oh well. Anyways, that's the current garden update. So I was like, hey, it's not too bad today in the heat level, but it will be later this summer again. So keep your garden shaded and have lots of mulch, and water it daily with a timer if you can. So, because otherwise, yeah, it's going to get hot, and it's hard to keep the garden alive during the hottest parts of the summer. Tomatoes will taper off, peppers will keep growing, cucumbers can keep growing for a while, eggplant will do well, melons can do well. I have 0 squash this year. It was very disappointing, but that's life. But basil is still good to go, and I'll probably plant some more plants. Just make sure I plant them in zones with a lot of mulch. That's the main thing. Otherwise they will bake in the sun before they can get established. But everything here is established pretty well at this point. So anyways, that's the garden update for today. So I will check back in later.